Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 557. Today is the last day of July. It is the 30th of July, 2025. And we have got a couple of things we want to share with you, a couple important announcements, some, I guess I would say limited time things we need to share, and then we will get into answering your local SEO questions. So first of all, I want to say hi to the guys. Chris, we'll start with you. How are you doing, man?
Doing good as usual at this time of the year. Busy cooking in the lab and yeah, like enjoying the summer a bit as well. Had a nice hike yesterday, so yeah,
Nice.
taking it easy.
Sounds good. Well, I just answered a question on last week's Hump Day Hangouts. I was hopping on YouTube to check it out and was saw we had a couple notifications, and somebody was asking the important question. They were asking, "What running shoes does Adam wear on the trails on Hump Day Hangouts?" So I answered the question, but I'll say it here. I wear Ultra Lone Peaks. That's just what works for me. Anyways, Bradley, how about you, man? How are you doing?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Excited. We got lots of stuff cooking, man. We launched local ops on Monday, so guys, don't sleep on this. If you like, this is the exact same. I'll demo this just in a minute when we get into the questions. Excuse me. I'll do a quick demo of it first and show you guys. But it's very thorough. It's the exact same process that I've used for for years now for my own local SEO clients. It's the exact sequence of tasks that I apply to a campaign in the appropriate order with the timelines that I typically apply those tasks, etc. And it's I've been asked that for a long time from mastermind members. And I don't know why it took me so long to put that full kind of document together, but for months, since last year, towards the end of last year, I put together just what I called a local SEO schedule, which was just a Google Doc that just showed the sequence of services that I applied to a campaign, and it didn't even have timeline information in there or anything. It was just the order in which I applied services. And then links to, for mastermind members, the training or the done for you or the done for you services, so that I gave multiple options for, if people want to learn how to do it, there's the training. If you want it done for you, here's where you can get it done. And that's it. And so, but we decided that, that because we'd been asked about it enough to flesh it out more and turn it into an actual product. So I spent a little over 10 hours on Thursday and Friday last week, developing it out into a full SOP. And so that's what we developed or launched on Monday. What's called LocalOps SEO System or SEO Blueprint, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, it's basically the exact same process that I use for my own local SEO clients, my retail agency clients, meaning not my white label clients, but my tree care contractors. And it's got the timelines. Everything's done, and with the on page work is all done within the first 3 to 4 weeks. Everything else is just ongoing work, stuff that we do consistently from that point forward. Like month 2 and beyond, we're just doing our ongoing deliverables, which is link building, content marketing, etc., publishing Google Business Post, that kind of stuff. And so it's a great, it's exactly what I do, and I go through each one of those kind of like, steps, and I explain why we're doing those things at that time, and how we use that, and build upon that for the next service, etc. So again, it's very, very thorough. I spent a lot of time fleshing it out, putting in exact timelines, put in a lot of additional training and resources included in the different modules. And so just to be clear, I point this out at the very beginning of the course too, guys, but everything that I develop for my team, everything that we teach is stuff that I've done in my own agency first, right? It's stuff that I've proven to work in my own agency. And once I've proven it and been able to apply it to multiple clients and seen results for clients, then I develop or turn the training into training that I share with the mastermind. In other words, I always develop products and services for my own agency first. And once I've proven that they work, we apply to multiple clients within my agency to make sure that it's consistent and duplicatable. And once we've determined that, then that's when I make that kind of stuff available to the mastermind. So everything that I'm sharing is in SOP format. We've also made a circle course out of it. So in our circle community, we created a course out of the training, but a lot of the training that I reference as either here's the option to do it yourself, or if you want it done for you, there's either a link to my done for you services or to a vendor's services when it's a vendor that I use instead of doing it in-house. Or there's training to the SOPs in most cases, the SOP templates, but that's in the SOP platform, which is called Flowster. You have to have a subscription to use Flowster. You can get a subscription for as little as $14 a month. And that's all that you will need in order to access the SOPs. But I got to be very clear about that right now, that the LocalOps SEO system is really built in SOP format, so that if you want to learn how to do it or train somebody in-house, so delegate it to a team member, et cetera, how to execute those things, I'm giving you the training. Guys, there's training in this that has only been available up until this point as a mastermind member. So we are making some of our mastermind only training and SOPs available to you if you decide to purchase the LocalOps SEO system. And we're doing that for a reason, because if you want the additional support, if you've got questions about stuff in the SOP and how to execute things, that's when you're going to have to come join the mastermind. But and that's what that's for. The mastermind is the ongoing support forum. That's how you get support from me, my team, et cetera, ongoing training. But the SOPs, those will be updated regularly, because that's what, anytime we find stuff that's changed or the method has changed or whatever, I update the SOPs. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of it. It's only $200, guys. It's 33% off right now from what the normal price will be. I think it's a steal, because it really is whether you don't even have to do it yourself, right? I mean, there's training there if you want to. You want to train your own in-house team to execute those tasks. That's what the SOPs are for, guys. I'm giving you the training. But there's also done for you options for those of you that would rather just go out and sell the shit and just collect margin, profit margin, right? Make money that way. And so there's both options available, and I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. So that wasn't really much of an introduction, Adam, but I wanted to jump right into it because I am excited and I'm proud of that training. I think that turned out really, really well. So I would encourage everybody here to get it.
Yeah, and I'll just say, on the financial and timing side of things, we are doing a launch week discount. So it's $100 off until Friday at midnight. So highly suggest go check it out. Go over to localops.semanticmastery.com. Check it out. If that's for you, great. Grab it before Friday at midnight. It will still be available, but it will cost $100 more down the road.
That's right.
So we wanted to, reward people who take action and who are watching our videos and getting our emails. So if you feel like that's a good fit for you, definitely grab it this week. Cool. Well, Bradley, you also had something else going on this week. Do you want to tell everyone about, I've already posted the link, but the webinar on Monday with Jeremy?
Yeah, of course. Jeremy, he needs really no introduction. Jeremy Noltzman from Press Advantage, co-owner, co-developer, or the lead developer and co-owner of Press Advantage. Press Advantage has been a staple of my local marketing services since 2013 or 14, when I was on the launch webinar. And he said when we did a webinar on Monday, he said it was 2013. In my head, I've always thought it was 2014. But in any case, I was on the launch webinar, and I've been a customer of Jeremy's ever since, been using Press Advantage ever since. It's been a staple of my services for over 10 years. And how we use press releases has evolved multiple times in that time frame, but have always been a staple of what I provide as my services. And right now, press releases are killing it, guys, for AI language, large language model manipulation, AI search, AI chat, AI mode. All of those are ingesting press releases and regurgitating or referencing information that it's ingested from press releases when there is a query relevant to whatever the press release has been mentioned about. So again, like talking about doing queries for local products or services, if a company's been publishing press releases consistently right now, that's what's going to get pulled up and shown in like AI mode and things like that. You see that all the time right now. And the webinar that we did with Jeremy on Monday, he shows multiple examples of that. I'm seeing it time and again for my own local SEO clients as well as white label clients when we are publishing press releases. I go now and I've been checking recently for press releases that we publish for white label clients and doing some searches and seeing that the releases multiple releases are now ranking, and for a long period of time, Google was not indexing many of the releases. Most of the pickup points or other distribution points wouldn't get indexed. They might get crawled, but they wouldn't be in the primary index. Now we're seeing a lot more. Still a lot of them aren't being indexed, but more of them are being indexed, which means Google's kind of shining favor on press releases again. But it's really thinking way beyond Google, guys. Press releases right now are one of the ways that we can help to manipulate language models, which in AI chat, AI search, et cetera. So that's why I think you should be using them. Jeremy's been doing a lot of testing recently on manipulating language models with press releases. And so he did a lot of training on Monday. Even if you don't end up using the services, go watch the webinar, because you'll get some really good ideas for how to format content for language model ingestion. all of that kind of stuff. So the training is good. Go watch the webinar. There is an offer that ends tomorrow night at midnight. It's on for the special offer with the unlimited with the new distribution options, which is really crazy. Jeremy's got exclusive distribution options now that none of the other press release companies have. So I just can't say enough good things about it. In fact, I even talked about it on the webinar about how I'm going to be testing with a few of my clients that have been longtime clients of mine that they're doing well, and I'm going to reallocate some of the retainer budget, monthly retainer, away from some of the traditional things that we've been doing for them and moving it more towards reallocating it towards increasing the frequency of press releases from one a month to two a month, so that I can follow what Jeremy's been doing with his teaching and his testing, and really trying to more manipulate language models than Google right now. So I'm going to be testing with that over the next few weeks. I'm just waiting for my Press Advantage account to be converted to the new subscription model. And as soon as it is, then I'm going to start testing with that pretty heavily. And I'll be sharing some of that information with, at least in our mastermind, over the next few weeks. So don't sleep on it, guys. Again, that's something else that, this isn't fake scarcity. Jeremy will open up an offer eventually again. He always does, but it could be 6 months or a year from now. So if you're interested in it now and get a leg up, guys, a jump start on before all the other agencies out there catch on to this shit, you have an opportunity right now to kind of beat them to the punch, so to speak, and start publishing press releases for your clients and get them in AI search a lot faster. Okay. Hopefully that's
Awesome.
clear.
Yeah, well, I think we're good, and Cecilia has good things to say about both the webinar and the SOP, so appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Cecilia. No, that's okay. Look, that's the whole point. She's saying that, because the SOPs are good, that she hasn't had to use many of my done for you services because she just trains team members. That's the point. If those that want to increase their margins and are okay with having the complexity of, adding complexity to their business by bringing fulfillment services in-house and then having to train, delegate, and manage personnel, then, look, I understand, like, that's what I've done, right? I've built agencies where we train personnel and we manage all that stuff. And that's why I do white label services and everything else. Cause I don't mind the complexity, but a lot, it took me a long time to learn how to manage a team, especially a large team with different divisions and different team leaders and all that kind of stuff. And I still don't like the whole management side as much, but it's something that's necessary, in my opinion, when you have a team of employees. But the whole point is, that the SOPs are there for those that are okay with that and can, follow the SOPs and want to manage their own fulfillment team. The done for you services are there for those that don't. And I found that most people don't want to do that shit on their own, so that's what they're there for. So that's what the LocalOps whole thing was about, guys. We're giving you both options, training and done for you options. So you can choose your own adventure, so to speak. All right. All right, guys. Other than that, let's go ahead and jump into it, I think, unless you got anything else you want to chat about.
Now let's do it.
All right, let's do it. We got a handful of questions, starting with Samuel L. Jackson, SEO, which is awesome. Do you still use schema in the ad ID page? No, because we embed the location landing page into the ID page if it's an embeddable site. And because of that, it pulls the schema in from it pulls the local business schema in from the location landing page, which is embedded, right? Remember, guys, an embedded page, the schema will pull through. If you run an ID page through the schema validator and you have an embedded location landing page with local business schema on it, it's going to pull in the local business schema from that embedded page. So there's no need, if you end up having putting local business schema on the ID page as well, now you've got duplicate instances of schema. And so that's silly, in my opinion. So no, you don't need to do that. If it's an non-embeddable website, then yeah, you would hyperlink to the location landing page from the ID page, and then I would just copy the local business schema from the location landing page and just paste it into the HTML header of the ID page. Okay. Huzzy says, if a GBP ranks well for their service and service plus location modifier, but doesn't show up for the service plus near me, does that mean Google's still not associate the brand with the location? How can we increase near me modifier rankings in the map results? Well, from my understanding, it's more about kind of what Google understands about the business and its kind of brand strength in its own local area. So if you have, how can you improve the near me search modifiers? Usually if it's performing well for the query and the query plus the location modifier, it should be ranking well for the near me modifier too. Usually, and again, I do competitive analysis and audits all the time, guys. So I'm constantly looking at all different types of local SEO campaigns. And usually so when you're looking at a local search grid report, okay, if the general query is doing well and then usually the near me query will be doing similar, fairly close to the average ranking positioning or average rank or whatever of the query without the near me modifier. But usually the near me modifier will show, typically, right? There's always outliers, guys. There's always, exceptions to this. This is not a hard and fast rule, but typically what I see is the near me modifier will show slightly lesser performance, like it's not performing as well. The average rank will be lower, higher in number, which means it's not performing as well, if that makes sense. And it's usually because if you think about what the near me modifier is asking, that's an explicit modifier that is asking Google to return businesses that are physically located near that searcher according to where that searcher is located at the time that they perform that search. So if the GBP is performing fairly well for a general search query without a location modifier or the near me modifier, then it will generally perform well for that query plus the near me modifier, but the average rank will be a higher number, which means it's not performing quite as well. And that's because it starts to drop out of the 3-pack faster in a closer proximity. And when it does start to drop out, it typically drops out a lot. Like instead of it being kind of a slow progression from the top 3 to 10 plus, it's a quicker progression between being in the 3-pack and being, 10 plus or further down, if that makes sense. And that's because the modifier is asking Google to specifically return businesses that are physically located next to the searcher. So if you think about the general query and the query plus the city or town location modifier instead of a near me modifier, it will usually have a broader kind of maps coverage area. The keyword plus the location modifier, so the city or town, is usually going to show, as long as it's the city or town that the GBP is physically located in, it's usually going to show better rankings than the general query or the query plus the near me modifier. But so to get back to the question, usually if you don't have a good if it's doing well for the general query and the query plus the location modifier, the city or location modifier instead of the near me modifier, then it usually means that there's some issues with what Google understands about the position of the business and its current kind of like authority in that area, if that makes sense. So how do you improve that? Well, more citations, more geographic relevance signals, right? Geo-relevant signals. That's where I found. You can also test with it. There's been some of the other SEOs like Joy Hawkins, she did something about this recently. Work the near me or near you. You don't have to put near me anymore. You can say near you, and Google will make that association now that satisfies answering a near me search query with a near you answer is an appropriate answer, if that makes sense. So if you can work the near you term into an SEO title, test with that, Huzzy. Try that. I've not been testing with that. I will typically put near you in one of the headings, so an H2 somewhere on the page. So like, contact the company name near you in whatever the city name is, right? So that could be like a H2 at the bottom as a call to action, like, call to action paragraph. So the H2 would say contact Benner's Tree Service in near you in Pikeville or something like that, if that makes sense. You could test with that. You could test with it in the SEO title. But what I've done to improve kind of near me search queries, performance for near me search queries, is just more citations, more geographic links, batch geo map, press releases, again, because press releases can help build location authority when done the way that I do them. So all of those types of things to kind of just help to improve what Google understands about the business and location. I've talked about this many times. And guys, I'm telling you, it works like crazy right now. And I no matter how many times I try to get clients to do it, it's very rare that they do it. So I understand the frustration and trying to get agencies to get their clients to do this. But if you can take photos and videos from out within the job site, upload them directly to the maps listing, not through, you don't forward the image via SMS or email, none of that. You take photos from a mobile device. The employees of the company can do this, right? They go out to a job site, take photos on their mobile phone, and then go straight to the Google Maps, search for the company name, pull up the maps listing, and click add photos and add the photos directly to the listing. That right there will help to improve those near me search queries. There's no question. As long as those, I'm not saying you do one batch of photos and then boom, you're going to rank for near me terms. That's not what I'm saying. But if they do it consistently, they will. Guaranteed. I promise you they will. Because I'm telling you guys, I've talked about this before, but I've had a number of trees. For years, I've been telling my clients to do this, and less than 5% of them do it. That's not a joke. We'll do it consistently. But when those that have, I've had a number of tree service clients that have done this, that developed the habit of taking photos and or videos on every job that they would go to and uploading it to the GBP. And I'm telling you, within 6 months of doing that consistently, they've canceled their SEO services with me. Every time. It's not a joke. And so people say, well, why would you tell them to do that then if it's going to result in them losing them as a client? Well, for two reasons. Number one, isn't it our responsibility to help the client get the best, perform the best that they can, right? To get the best results that we can. That's our responsibility. To like, we're the marketer, we're the professional that they hired. We should be doing everything in our power to help them get the best results that they possibly can. And so, yes, and by the way, so why do I tell them to do this? Because I know that less than 5% of them are going to do it anyway. So there's no reason that we shouldn't. It would be unethical not to tell them, right? It's up to them whether they want to do it or not. And again, less than 5% of them will actually do it consistently. So they're not going to see the benefit from it, right? And that's the thing. They'll do it once or twice and they don't see an immediate benefit from it. So that's why they don't do it. They stop doing it because they don't see an instant gratification. You see what I'm saying? So why I'm bringing that up is because first of all, it's our ethical responsibility to help our clients get the best results possible. So I tell them that, number one. And number two, even if they do end up doing it, which is very rare, and they end up canceling services because it maintains their ranking positioning, it can actually help to improve it too. But it also maintains it once, if they're already ranking, it will just help to maintain that ranking for them. But if they end up canceling services, who do you think they're going to contact when they're ready for additional services, or when and if something happens where they drop and they need to get, pushed back up? Who do you think they're going to call? They're going to call the person that helped them to get the results the first time, right? And told them the magic, that secret that they were able to use to end up not needing my services anymore. So I've had clients come back to me, it might be a year and a half, 2 years later, but they come back and because they need additional stuff or something happened. I had one client in particular, he was crushing it for a long time, but he lost his GBP. And I don't know what he did to lose it. To be honest, it could have just been one of those random, GBP suspensions, which I believe does occur. I do believe that there is just some, people get caught up in random suspensions at times. And he was American Tree and Landscaping in Woodbridge, Virginia. They crushed it, man. And he was a riding buddy of mine too, like ATV riding buddy. So I did a lot of additional stuff for him and I was charging him like my lowest retainer level, but I taught him how to do that with images and videos. And he started doing that consistently. And within like 4 months, he ended up, you should have seen it. This was several years ago now, but the local search grid report, we do a 225, 15 by 15 grid. So 225 points with 2 mile spacing. And it would solid green the whole freaking way in Northern Virginia, densely populated area. It was nuts. And it was because of how he was doing the videos and photos so much. And it was probably a year and a half later. And I was actually kind of pissed because he was a buddy of mine. And I was like, son of a bitch, I did all these extra things for him. And then he quit even the lowest level subscription, even though I'd done all these extra things for him. But anyway, long story short, he came back to me like a year and a half later and said that his GBP was suspended. And so he has come back. And that happens, not just from a suspension, but just, something will happen. They'll slip in the rankings and they'll come back or they're ready for expansion. So they want to add additional services, whatever. So if you treat them right, guys, who do you think they're going to come back to? Right? It should be you anyway. So, that's how I would do it. If I'm going to optimize for the near me searches, play around with including the near me or near you. I would say near you in the SEO title or in one of the other headings on the page. But what I typically do is just increase geographic relevance signals to that particular location or the pages that would help to support that location. So think about this. If it's a service area business where you have a location landing page and then supporting locations that would be served from that location, that business location, then any of the supporting location pages that you could build, like neighborhood pages or adjacent cities, etc., those should all have an internal link pointing back to the location landing page that helps to build geo-relevance back to that page, etc. So just play around with it. I gave you a few different options and you can see what works for you. All right, it's a good question. Next one says canonical tags on every service. Can you share the URL parameter to automate? No, I can't. No, sorry, that's for DHA members, so can't help you there. Bobby says, hey, Bradley, I know you recommend targeting the county on the homepage and listing service areas within that county. What if I want to add service areas that aren't within that county? Then go to the next broadest region, Bobby. It's a good question, but just go to your next larger region, right? Let me just demonstrate something. Okay, so like I was just doing a audit for a white label client, and it's a national company. It's a franchise, and they were asking me to do an audit of a particular location. But they wanted me to, throughout the audit, develop a link building service plan for all of their locations. It's I think they have 37 locations across the United States. In 15 states, there's 37 locations, I think. But anyway, here's an example. Tulsa, Oklahoma was the location that I was auditing today. Tulsa, Oklahoma is in Tulsa County, right? So that's the next broader location. This is a location area or region, it's a county, that the city of Tulsa is contained within. Okay, does that make sense? Then we have Tulsa County, which is part of the Tulsa metropolitan area, okay, which is also known as Greater Tulsa, right? Remember, guys, that's the official entity name, but that is also a variant of it right there. Any bolded text in the paragraph text of a Wikipedia page is also an entity variant, but you can also click on tools, what links here, hide transclusions and hide links. One of our mastermind members named Nolan from the UK, he was the one that pointed this out to me. It was one of my favorite SEO tips for the last several years. I'm not joking. I freaking love this tip, but those are all, again, different entity variants for that term. So Greater Tulsa would be the location region. And if you go back and take a look at this, so remember, Tulsa is contained within Tulsa County, Oklahoma. Tulsa County, Oklahoma is one of several counties that are associated with Tulsa metropolitan area or Greater Tulsa. Do you see what I'm saying? Look at all these counties that are included in the Tulsa metropolitan area. Each one of those counties is going to have a separate list of cities and towns, census designated places, unincorporated communities, etc., within each one of those counties. So now you see, by just increasing from a county level to a metropolitan region level, you've significantly opened up the service area, like by, in this case, exponentially, right? Because it went from one county with these communities within that county to now each and every one of these counties that each have their own set of cities and towns within each counties, right? So we come back here to communities. Look, this is just one of, what was it, 7 or 8 counties? And these are all the cities in that county. So to answer the question, you broaden it up by location hierarchy, right? It's always, that's what I do. Go right to Wikipedia, start at the city or town level. And right there, it's going to tell you what the broader county is. It's typically going to be either contained within a county or it's going to be an independent city that isn't part of a county, but it's going to be adjacent to a county or surrounded by a county or adjacent to multiple counties if it shares a border with more than one county. And then you just click into any one of those county pages, and that's going to typically tell you if the county is part of a metropolitan region. Then you can go click through to that metropolitan area. And usually a metropolitan area will be part of a larger region that might be a multi-state region, like the Southwest or the Western United States or something like that. So you can constantly find the next big, it's like the Russian dolls. You know what I mean? You start with the smallest doll and you keep looking, like the Russian dolls, you open it up and there's one just slightly smaller, just open that up slightly smaller, and you just keep doing that all the way until it's the same thing. You're looking for the broadest location region that would be the most specific and all-inclusive of the service areas that business provides its services to, if that's clear. The more narrow you focus the site, guys, both topically and geographically, the better it's going to perform. And I've done a ton of testing on that. It's why the sites that we deploy, what I call LLG sites, local lead generation sites, are hyperlocal sites, because they just perform better. So the more narrow that you can make, like, in other words, don't go too broad. You want to try to find the location region that is the most appropriate and narrow, that is all inclusive of the areas that are covered by that business, but narrow enough to where it's like specific to just those locations. That's why I always recommend starting with the county. But again, if there are other locations that they're targeting are outside of one specific county, then you have to go to the next broader region. That's clear. Okay. Can we get a sneak peek of the SOPs for LocalOps Blueprint? Well, I'm glad you asked. Sure. Here we go. This is it right here. LocalOps SEO system. You can see, like I said, I fleshed this out. It took me about 10 hours on Thursday and Friday of last week. I had the original kind of document developed, but I extracted it, cut it out into separate modules. This is the SOP in Flowster. This is the workflow. There's an SOP template, and then there's a workflow. You run a workflow from a template, and then you work through the workflow. That's what this is for. So here's the overview, training and resources, right? Just talks about getting a Flowster subscription and how to get 50% off. So it's only $14 a month. Yet there will still be people whining about it, I'm sure. Here's the checklist. These are the checklists for week 1, week 2, 3, and week 4 plus. And then I break it down: week 1, week 2 and 3, week 4 plus. So there's the checklist of those tasks. Then we go through the selling local SEO. This is just about why it's important to focus on marketing and sales instead of always just focusing on fulfillment, guys. That's part of the reason why I put this video here, is because I'm providing you throughout this SOP done for you fulfillment options so that you can focus on marketing and selling, so that you can get your revenue up instead of selling closing a couple of clients and then going into fulfillment mode, right? Why? If you have a done for you fulfillment, if you've got a full in-house team that you can submit these SOPs to, that I'm going to show you in just a minute, then you can build your own fulfillment team. That's fine. Handle it in-house. But a lot of you don't. A lot of you will go through these SOPs on your own and execute most of those tasks on your own, or with maybe a virtual assistant, like some help from a VA. But why? If you could go out and book more sales calls and sell more services, and you can mark up a minimum anywhere between 50 to 100% of what our white label services prices are, and you can start to generate recurring revenue profitability by having somebody else do the fulfillment, why? Why would you want to do it in-house? But you have that option, just to be clear. So week 1, we start with the analysis of the brand, the entity, the local entity. Is it an established company or a new company? That determines how deep of an analysis we're going to do. Then if you're going to do a full SEO audit, here's the done for you service. Here's the SOP, right? The SOP, this is called a conditional workflow, which means you download the template first, or import the template in your Flowster account, and then you click the execute workflow button, and it will take you directly into a workflow for that specific task. In this case, local SEO audit process. So here's a full SEO audit SOP that will teach you exactly how to go through and analyze and do a full SEO audit, the same service that I sell here for $179. Okay. Competitive link analysis for new companies or companies that don't have much of a brand presence yet. There's no reason to do a full SEO audit. So you can significantly reduce the time required to complete the analysis, or significantly reduce the cost if you use the done for you service from $179 to $39. That's the difference, right? The time required to do a competitive link analysis is a fraction of what it takes to do a full SEO audit. So again, here's training. This one's available for anybody on our YouTube channel. So I just referenced that here. Branded assets for a strong brand is here. Done for you services are available here. Here's the SOP for creating the assets yourself. Okay. Brand builder for a weak brand. You want to do brand builder instead. Done for you services here. Conditional workflow here. So here's a full SOP for that, right? Citations. Again, citations. I give you exact training. I don't have SOPs for that because I use fulfillment providers for citations. So I list my providers. On page week 2 and 3, which is build optimized website. Again, I've got a lot of training here about how to structure sites based upon entities, doing entity analysis to determine how to structure the site. There's a lot of training here. We don't have done for you site building services other than LLG sites, which are local lead generation sites. So I'm giving you training for that. Optimized GBP, done for you optimization services, which by the way, we reduced the price on that specifically from $299 to $249. Why? To make it a little bit more affordable for you guys, as well as so that you can mark it up, sell it for $500 and you can keep 100% profit margin, right? But if you want to do it yourself, there's the GBP SOP, the optimization SOP. In case nobody's ever seen that before, let's go take a look at it because it's a very, very thorough SOP. Okay, so now we're going to open that up. Boom. Again, you want to learn how to optimize the SOPs the same way that my agency does it and my fulfillment teams do it. Well, you're going to see that here in just a minute when this page decides to load. This is Google Business Profile SOP, guys. Some of this stuff, again, is stuff that has not been shared outside of the mastermind until now. So let me hit refresh again and see if it'll load. There it is. Google Business Optimization Process SOP. Look how thorough this is, guys. Right? This is not to intimidate you. This is so that you can go in and you can train a VA to do it. And these are like you can delegate, you can assign a workflow to a VA. And this SOP is set up in checklist format so that every one of these tasks, there's training for how to complete the task. And then there's a step-by-step checklist so that the VA will go through and check off each one of these as they complete that specific item. And if they go to complete that module before all those checks are those are checked off, in this case, these weren't required because the KML files are not required. But for some of the stuff that is required, it will not allow you to even check the box until you check off those the items down here. So again, a VA can comment in here. If they check off the items and they stop, they can, you can always log into the, check their workflow and see where they stopped. And then you can inquire with them as to why they stopped there. Did you run into an issue? They can send a message right here. I ran into an issue at this particular step. Can you assist? You can jump in, see exactly where they left off, and you can then go provide support to help them get past whatever obstacle it was that stopped them there. You see what I'm saying? All of this stuff, guys, is precisely what I've learned, what I've built into my own agency. And this is the exact same process that I use for every client, every time. Okay. So all of that, guys, is in here. There's either done for you services and or training available or links to vendors when it's services that I don't do in-house myself, if that's clear. So that's it, guys. It's a very, very thorough SOP, as all of my SOPs are. And like I said, there's SOPs in there that only mastermind members have had access to until now. Just to be clear, you're getting access to them. You have to have a Flowster account. You need to be transparent about that right up front, because that's how I manage and maintain all of my SOPs. Okay. So check it out. Don't sleep on it, guys. It's going to be, I mean, you can buy it at 300 later. It's still worth it, but you can get it for $100 off right now. Next question. Casey says, in the DHA cold email flow, how do you automate the first reply? Oh, by the way, just if anybody's on right now that's in the mastermind, LocalOps SEO system or blueprint is available to you, as is everything in the mastermind. All right. So if you're in the mastermind, don't go buy that. You already have access to it. It's in the SOP section of the mastermind. Go get it. Okay. All right. So back to Casey. In the DHA cold email flow, how do you automate the first reply depending on if the reply to your cold email is updated information from theirs? Awesome. Auto reply, no additional info. Awkward. Tell you to pound sand. Yikes. Do you trigger N8N series that analyzes the email and takes action based on that, or something else? Thanks. No. Okay. So there's two sets of automations. There's one with AI integration and one set without. Okay. I'll demonstrate this. I've got this in SOP format too. So let's just go ahead and show that to you. I tell you guys, it's how I do all my training. Excuse me. Service area and listing delivery. That's what we're looking at here. That's going to be here. That's this SOP right here. Boom. Right here. All right. So this is the no AI integration, right? In my agency, TreeCare HQ, we have an AI integration. So it's AI analyzes the responses and determines what to do with the responses based upon the sentiment of that response. But there was the non-AI versions before I hired an AI company to integrate. And so these are the no AI versions of those workflows. There is a slight manual component to this, but it's really only in the request service area radius sequence, because once we, so in other words, the overview for the no AI here, the cold email reply, no AI, it's right here. This is precisely what Casey was asking about. Okay. So cold email webhook from Instantly, it sends the notification in, and there's a sentiment analysis that you can apply in the settings within Instantly that will, only create the webhook or trigger the webhook, I should say, if it's a positive sentiment. And so that's how I have it set up, just to be clear. I have it set up to where it won't trigger the webhook unless it's a positive sentiment from instantly. But it can be done via high level too, because you could have all replies trigger the webhook from instantly in the high level and then have the sentiment analysis set up in high level instead. But I didn't want replies going into high level unless they were positive. You see what I'm saying? Because I allow instantly to be kind of like the filter to prevent new contacts from being added into my CRM if they were negative in their response. Does that make sense? That's why I do it via instantly. But you can do it from inside high level. You can set up sentiment analysis there, so that if the trigger from the webhook from instantly or whatever cold email service it is that you're using, whatever if you're not doing sentiment analysis there, then you can have it webhook and trigger the webhook, create the contact in high level, analyze the reply to determine whether, and you can just put simple listeners in there, like certain trigger words like stop, fuck off, no kidding. Like you could put those types of words, anything like that. Because with Tree Guys, we don't get a lot of negative replies. We really don't. But when we do, they're typically pretty nasty. So you can put those types of words in there as trigger words to where if in the reply one of those words were detected, it won't create the opportunity card and then send notification to your team member to then process the lead, all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So you can either create sentiment analysis in the cold emailing app, which is what I do in instantly, or you can do it within a high level. And again, we have the SOPs for that. So Casey, if you're in our mastermind, that is one of the new SOPs that I just added within the last week. I'll show you where that's at. That was this one right there, service area. I just added that 6 days ago, and that's right here. Let's see, listing delivery, right there. SOP number 11, listing delivery with no AI. Okay, that's right there if you want to go get that SOP. Good question. All right, Mohammed. What's up, Mohammed? It's been a while, buddy. He says, I'm back to SM and true to form. I'm completely lost. What's the best way to take advantage of all the stuff you've been doing the last few years? The LocalOps SEO system right now, Mohammed. That's the best thing. No kidding. There's so much new to me and I don't know where to start. Yeah, that's by far the LocalOps SEO system that I would say right now is, because that includes everything and it's got links to all the most important SOPs and everything that I execute for local SEO campaigns. So I would just start with the LocalOps SEO system, and you can expand from there if needed. But that's pretty much going to cover everything that you need for doing local marketing for local businesses, or marketing for local businesses, excuse me. All right, next question, Craig. What's up, Craig? He says, can I add more than one service with the same keyword? Example, bedbug extermination, Glen Birdie. Yeah, you can. Those are related. Rodent control service is that's rodent control service is one service. But bed bug and extermination. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I misunderstood this. Can I add more than one service with the same keyword? Example. Well, to me, that's one keyword and one location modifier. Bed bug extermination, Glen Birdie, Maryland. If you were going to say like bed bug control and exterminators, that would be two keywords plus a location modifier. Do you see what I'm saying? Like rodent control. Rodent control is a subtopic of pest control. Did you guys know that? It's not a standalone entity. Rodent control is a type of pest control. You guys get that? And so like if you were to say rodent pest control, now that would be two keywords and a location modifier, right? Your examples though, just to be clear, Craig, and I'm not picking on you, but the examples that I'm seeing here, every one of those examples is one keyword and one location modifier. So that's not an example of can I add more than one service with the same keyword, at least according to what, if I'm interpreting the question properly. But what I was going to show you is pest control Wikipedia. And I misspelled that. Pest control is, let's see, rodent control. Where is it? Not seeing it, but it's on here somewhere. Yeah, rodent control. Sorry. Yeah, and it's funny because it's not even showing it in here, but it will show. Let's see if we go up here to, let's see, control methods. If we go look at tools, what links here, hide transclusions and hide links, we'll see it there too. Rodent control. Let's see. I just saw it and I just lost it. There it is, right there. Sorry. In a live setting, it's always hard to find things like playing Where's Waldo? Right here, rodent control, pest control, rodent control. You see that? This is it, so it is a subtopic of pest control. Rodent control is a more specific type of pest control, right? So if you were to put like rodent pest control, that would be basically 2 keywords plus a location modifier in that example. Yeah, as long as they're related, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can do that. I don't know why. If they all mean the same thing, that's why I like to use entity variants, right? Because that tells me what are the variants of the pest control keyword. So if rodent control is synonymous with pest control, you see what I'm saying? So it's not really necessary to do like rodent pest control, right? Because that it means basically the same thing. I would just use rodent control in that case, if that's clear. So. But you'll see like extermination, pest exterminator, pest exterminators, plural. All of those are considered too. So if you were to say like pest control and rodent exterminators, right? Again, those are going to be 2 synonyms used in the same phrase, if that makes sense. And it's redundant. It's the Department of Redundancy Department. You know what I mean? That's what that is. Department of Redundancy Department. So anyway, you can, yeah, it's not going to hurt anything, but it doesn't really make sense to, in my opinion. Huz says, when prospecting with directory, what do you do with the leads that don't book the call? They just go into a nurture sequence where we'll reach out to them. There's some other things that we can do, like you can do social media outreach where you tag them in Facebook posts. You tag their page via your Facebook page, which sends them a notification that they've been tagged. You can do other kind of value add-ons. I don't like to spend a lot of time with those that don't reply or book the call, but we do have some nurture sequence stuff that we do. For example, if they have 5-star reviews on their Google business profile, and if they were engaged with the process of the listing delivery sequence, the up until the point where we request the booking of the call to review the listing with them. If they were fully engaged with the communication process, which is automated, right? Between when they replied to the cold email and when we start to prompt them to book the listing delivery review call, the listing review call. If they were really engaged, then I will tag them as a more interested prospect, which then they'll go into. There's a few additional things we'll do, like I just started to mention, like a rep video, for example. If they've got 5-star reviews on their Google business profile, then we may create a rep video. I've got like 1,400 and some odd credits and rep videos. It's no shit. So like, I don't care. I'll give those things away like they're candy. It's fine. And we'll create a rep video and then send them another email. Hey, by the way, just congratulations on the 5-star review. Just to show you, one of the things that we provide for our contractor clients are reputation marketing services so that you can lead with your 5-star reputation, which will generate more business. Here's an example of a review commercial that we just created for you. It's free of charge. You can put it on your social media, put it on your webpage, do whatever you want with it. By the way, we've got some other ideas to help you as well. Book a call with us here. Boom. You see what I'm saying? We just, a couple little things like that we'll do occasionally. We'll just send out kind of an email with some additional information that'll help them, give them something else of value, but only those that were really engaged with us up until that point that they went quiet or went dark. If the communication was strained or very there wasn't much communication between that initial cold outreach reply and the request to book the listing delivery call, then we'll just tag them as likely not interested. And they'll still get put into a separate list where we segment our list to where we can always do another outreach to them again in 6 months or 12 months or whatever it is. But we don't spend a lot of additional time trying to nurture a lead that didn't show a lot of engagement initially, if that's clear. But sometimes they just get busy. Maybe they had full intentions of replying or whatever, but they just got tied up with stuff. Guys, remember, business owners are always putting out fires, right? There's always playing whack-a-mole. They're always looking for, they're always trying to figure out, like solve problems that pop up. We all do in our businesses too. And so they probably had good intentions to join the, to attend a call, and they just got busy. That happens all the time. I'm pretty forgiving with my tree guys. If they no show for 2 appointments in a row, then I'm done. But as long as they give me a notification is like ahead of time that they can't make it, and that's, by the way, why we have appointment reminders, because we'll send them a reminder an hour or 2 hours ahead of this call and say, like, your call's coming up. If you need to reschedule, just let us know, right? As long as they reply back, say, like, I'm tied up, I can't make it right now, that's fine. I understand. You're a business owner. Shit came up. That's fine. Reschedule here. So, but if they ghost me twice, that's it. They're done, in my opinion. When replying to a review, is it best to comment with the service provided? Yeah, you can comment with a variation of the product or service, like a mention of the product or service, and you can use different variants of the terms that would be related to the products or services. Also, I would recommend that you, if possible, reference the location in which that service was provided, right? Remember, guys, you can talk about the city or town name. You can mention a county name. You can mention a metropolitan region. You can mention a neighborhood name. You can mention a street name. Don't mention the address. You don't want to give out any personally identifiable information. You don't want to do that. But you can mention a street name, a neighborhood name or community name, a section or district within a city or town, a county, a metropolitan region, right? You can do all of those is what I'm saying. Not in one review reply, but in review replies, you should be either instructing your client to do this or managing this for them, which is you should be replying to each customer review by repeating or referencing the products or services that the company, as long as it's not sensitive subjects, guys, you reference the product or service that the company or the consumer, the customer purchased. And then also, if it's a service area business, where was that delivered to? That product or service, where was it sold? Like, in which area, which location was it provided to, right? And again, neighborhood or street name, neighborhood, section or district of city, the city or town name, county name, metropolitan region, etc. All of those you should be mentioning regularly, because that adds more relevance to the GBP. Very similarly to how photos and videos do, right? Because it's just, and I promise you, competitors aren't doing that, guys. Not consistently. You do that consistently, the GBP will start to perform better, right? Because it has more relevance. Plus, it shows Google you're responsive to the customers, etc. So thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank, for choosing On-Time Pest Control. We're happy to solve your rodent control problem in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Yep, that's a good way to do it, right? And remember, Glen Burnie, you could probably find, like, right? Just think about this: neighborhoods in Glen Burnie, Maryland. You could look at things like Neighborhood Scout, homes.com. Sometimes you'll see in a carousel up here different names like this. These are, according to Google search, these are neighborhood names, essentially, right? Entities that Google has associated with Glen Burnie. So you could mention a neighborhood name if you know it. You could mention, there's, like I said, homes.com. There's also another one called Neighborhood Scout, where you can also find additional neighborhood names. You could then also go look for, in Wikipedia, Glen Burnie. Then you could look at the county, which in this case is Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County is likely going to be part of a larger metropolitan region, probably the greater Baltimore area. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. You just keep going broader and broader. Not rodent control, sorry. Let me close that one out. This one here. Washington, Baltimore combined statistical area. What links here? Hide transclusions, hide links. See, is greater Baltimore in here? Sometimes you'll see that. But in any case, Baltimore, Washington, or you could also call it like the DMV, right? The DC, Maryland, Virginia. Well, that's Northern Virginia or DMV area, et cetera. So all I'm saying is you can figure out the different kind of location modifiers that you could include that would be relevant to that type of a service area business, and make sure that you're just referencing those throughout replies. It's going to make it more relevant over time. So, all right, man, we finished right on time. We still got a couple minutes for comments. Anything that I need to address? Looks like I might be on my own. So, all right, let's see. We got Cecilia here. What's up, Cecilia? Let's see. Thank you for your comments. I would rather the done for you, but I got too many cheap clients. Yeah, I understand that. I do get that, which just means raise your prices, find better clients. Darren, what's up, Darren? Long time, man. He says, we've been adding an H2 that says near you, and we've seen good results for near me modifiers. Yeah, there we go. See, Darren gets it. And that's what it used to be, guys, we would have had to have the near me term in the SEO title. And so I would put in quotes, did you just search like in a heading tag? And instead of just searching for tree removal near me, and it would go in quotes, contact, and then it would say the company name. So that would create that association by proximity between the tree removal near me and the company name, right? An association. But that was before. Now that Google understands our language a lot better because it has a language model integrated, right? Then there's no reason to do that. A near me search query can be satisfied with a near you answer. So there's no reason to duplicate those terms. I still think there's a lot of SEOs out there that don't understand that it is no longer a keyword-based algorithm. And so that's why, I do audits and competitive analysis all the time. And I see all the time these stupid freaking keyword stuffing that in URL, SEO title, H1, H2s, the same freaking phrase over and over and over again. And then I don't understand why I'm not, it's not ranking well. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? like it's not 2015, it's 2025. Right. And so, the language models are better at our language than we are. And so there's no reason to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, the near you modifier, or just squeezing that into, I don't like to put it in the SEO title, but you can play with that. But just putting in one of the heading tags, that's all you need to do, right? And it could be even the conclusion paragraph, like the H2 that introduces the conclusion paragraph or whatever. Like, just word it. Say, contact the best tree removal provider near you in Pikeville. Something like that. I always try to associate the brand near those terms as well, though. Long time, Darren. It's been a while. Love me some Flowsters. Yeah, me too, man. I was talking about adding this in the Google Business Profile service area. Okay, so let me go back to the question. So you're talking about this. So can I add more than one service with the same keyword example? So you're talking about under the services like item in the Google Business Profile Manager? Yeah, you can, but you could test with that. I think that's spammy, to be honest with you. You could test with that. I don't know why you would need to do that. I would just put bedbug extermination, and then I would describe, put an optimized description for that service, which is only 300 characters. Remember, guys, and I talk about this, Craig, you've never ordered an audit from me that I'm aware of. If you had, you would have known this, which is fine. I'm glad you asked this question because it'll benefit others as well. But the services menu, what I always recommend in my audits is that you create a corresponding, you duplicate any of the service titles that are on the website that are important enough to have its own dedicated service page for. Okay. You're going to duplicate that. So let's say bedbug extermination is one of your service pages on the site, the main site. Then you would put bedbug extermination as a service menu item or service item, under the appropriate service category. Remember, you want to add services to the appropriate service categories in the Google Business Profile Manager. So bedbug extermination would go under pest control service, that category. Then I always recommend that you can have as many services in the service category or whatever, service items under that service category in the Google Business Profile Manager as you want. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you're aware of this, Google will oftentimes add a whole bunch of what it considers relevant search queries to those service categories. But what I always recommend that you do is just you make sure that you have the exact same service titles or names, that you have a separate dedicated page for each of those services on the main website. You duplicate that into the services of the GBP under the appropriate service category. And then those are the ones that you optimize the descriptions for, which is only 300 characters, right? Maximum. So that's 2 to 3 sentences. Because then you can have, and in this case, Craig, if you were to try to do it with the location modifiers, then sure, I would have bedbug extermination. If that is a service that has a dedicated service page on the site, I would have that as a standalone service type, bedbug extermination with an optimized description. Then I would have those other ones with the location modifiers, bedbug extermination, Glen Burnie, Pasadena, etc., as just service items, but not with optimized descriptions, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm tested with that. I don't know whether that would perform better or not because I've not tested that. I think that's a lot of additional work, especially when you manage dozens of clients. I mean, you can certainly try it though, and I'd love to know if it performs better or not. But the reason why I talk about having it's okay to have all kinds of additional services that Google's going to auto add. And so I've had clients say, well, should I go in and modify those? No, because you can go in and delete them or don't accept the suggested edits, et cetera. And Google's just going to add them back in at a later time anyway. So in my opinion, if Google thinks they're relevant, just accept those changes, but make it a point to optimize those that are corresponding with dedicated service pages on the site, because that sends a signal to Google. It tells Google, because those are the only optimized services out of the whole list of them, that those are the most important services. And then what does Google do to confirm that? It goes through the location landing page URL, which is the URL linked to from the GBP that connects the website to the GBP, to the website, and it crawls the site and finds that those services that were in the GBP that had optimized descriptions had corresponding pages on the main website. So provide agreement, corroboration, right? It validates how the GBP is optimized and vice versa, how the website is optimized. So can you have those? Sure, play with it. I think that, especially for service area business covering a lot of areas, that would, to me, would be a bit excessive and a lot of additional work. But if it produces a performance gain, then why not? I don't do that, to be clear. We focus on services only under the service menu. We don't squeeze in location modifiers. I just feel like that's unnecessary, but I've not tested with it specifically, so I don't know. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question, Craig. Okay, guys, we're done. Only 3 minutes over. Thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate you guys.
Bye, everyone.
See you.